Madam Chair, we are ready to begin.
I'd like to call the November meeting of the Meridian Arts Commission to order at 3:35 p.m. The mission of the Meridian Arts Commission is to develop, advance, and nurture all facets of the arts to enhance the quality of life for Meridian residents and its visitors. So with that, let's do a roll call. Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Peters.
Present.
Commissioner Schofield.
Here.
Commissioner Zahn Griffith here. Commissioner Gayton. Commissioner O'Leary.
Here.
Commissioner Cavaness Williams. Commissioner Vanucci. Commissioner Scoville.
Here.
At this time, could I have an adoption of the agenda for this meeting?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has been adopted for this meeting. Approval of minutes for the October 13th meeting. I would like to ask for a motion of approval of that. Of those.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from the October 13th Meridian Arts Commission meeting.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes from the October 13th meeting are approved. Approval of the monthly financial statement that was attached to the online packet. Could I have an approval for that?
Madam Chair, I just have a quick question for Cassie. In looking at the traffic box wrap, it shows the budget versus the actual, and it shows that there's no money in there for the budget. Is that just an accounting thing, or?
It's because the budget is part of the MAPS fund, so it's part of the other budget. Another thing that you might see on there is that the carry forward is not the amount that it should be. It will be adjusted in January.
Okay.
But please do ask me any questions about the budget that you have.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the budget.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The financial statement is approved. On to item number 3, which is old business, a review and make recommendations to the City Council regarding the final proposal for the 5 Mile Creek Pathway Trailhead. Lizzie, I believe you have a presentation to give us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do I need to use the microphone? Or can you hear me? Quick question. Do I need to use the microphone or can you hear me?
You do have to use the microphone, otherwise people out in the public can't hear you.
How does this work?
It is working, just speak a little closer to the mic. You can pull it towards you too. The taller one might work better.
Thank you. One of these days I'll master this skill. Thank you, Cassandra, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm really very excited about being here to share the Meridian Arts Commission's Public Art Subcommittee's recommendation for the 5 Mile Creek Trail Hub Pathway Art Project. That is one long title to get out. And request your approval with the intent that the Meridian City Council would also approve the recommendation. The subcommittee, through a detailed process spanning months, selected Eileen Gay of Sparks, Nevada, as the winner. Ms. Gay's submittal was the clear leader in terms of numeric scoring by subcommittee members in several different areas like responsiveness to the RFP, site suitability, experience in completing projects of similar scope and budget, etc. A copy of Ms. Gay's proposal is available in the online version of the packet for this meeting for your reference. What, however, in the eyes of the subcommittee sealed the deal was Ms. Gay's presentation to us. Cassandra had kindly arranged for each of the 4 finalists to address us for 7 to 10 minutes, followed by a short Q&A session. Ms. Gay's enthusiasm was evident from the moment she said hello. We were absolutely taken by it. She was smooth, but she was not slick. She knew her material, but she did not come across as robotic. She clearly understood that this part of the country, not unlike Sparks, Nevada, has wide climate changes, climate swings, if you will, differing sorts of climate conditions that needed to be addressed, and that factors assuring durability, longevity, and keeping the project clean and presentable were important to us. In other words, she nailed it, absolutely nailed it. We were entranced. Now, if I can get these 2 pieces of paper apart, we'll proceed. Ms. Gay calls her project Water Metrics. The maquette for the project is here. I urge each and every one of you, so I don't have to be jumping between there and here and showing it to you. I urge each one of you at the conclusion of the meeting to come up and see this. It's a 2-piece concrete sculptural gateway accented with mosaic art. Each piece is about 8 feet tall. 8 feet doesn't sound like much, but when you see it, 8 feet is plenty tall. 8 feet tall by about 2 feet deep, giving an approachable human scale entry to the pathway. She was firm in not wanting to increase the height to preserve the feeling of arriving, but not being overwhelmed. By overwhelmed, I mean something like Petra or the Parthenon, just not going to happen. The blue surfaces representing canals and water scenes are actually glass mosaic waterfalls. When seen on paper, they're interesting. When seen on your computer screen, a little bit more interesting, but when you see them in 3D, they are absolutely compelling. Can't you just see them when they're 8 feet tall? I sure can. The subcommittee urges you to read Ms. Gay's proposal in detail, which will further elaborate on her experience and success in completing similar projects. I was asked to present our recommendation to you, but in no way can I address any technical issues. Don't ask me about substrates or anything like that because I don't know. Okay. When I reread her proposal for preparing this presentation, I was convinced, not that I wasn't before, but reconvinced beyond any doubt whatsoever that we had deliberated productively and chosen well. It is our sincere hope that the Meridian Arts Commission is in agreement with us. Thank you very much for your time, your attention, and hopefully for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. So this really is a beautiful piece of public art. When I first saw it on the packet, I was very excited about it. It's really lovely. So at this time, we need to make a recommendation to have the city council approve this piece of public art. So could I have a
Oh, Madam Chair, just one question, Liz. Are there any lights on this at all?
There can be, not probably right at the beginning, but provisions, Cassandra, correct me, or anybody else correct me if I'm wrong, provisions can be made for eventual lighting of the sculpture.
And to further clarify, there is not electrical that's hooked up to the site in that location at this point, so it would be an additional cost that's not part of her proposal. And where funding and logistics, it is something that could be added in the future, but it's not part of the proposal.
And Madam Chair, I just want to add, I agree with Lizzie, and we all really really liked Eileen's proposal and we're excited to see it. And it's sort of hard to imagine just sort of how special it is because this is a mosaic, which is not sort of, you know, what the mock-up looks like. But if you Google Eileen's name, she has a website where she has all of her work, and looking at the scale of those and seeing how everything is in mosaic, it just sort of gives you an idea of what this might look like. So, you know, we're excited just looking at the proposal, but also when you see the other work that she does and what her style is, really kind of brings home the impact, the visual impact that this is going to have. So.
Great comments. So at this time, can we have a recommendation to approve this project? City?
Also, Madam Chair, I did want to let everyone know that Eileen is in attendance at the Zoom meeting at this time. If you wanted to call on her to say anything, you could.
So Eileen, thank you for submitting your creation. It's absolutely wonderful.
And I'll second that. I was blown away when I saw the presentation just in paper, so I can't imagine what it's going to look like in real life.
I'm going to be excited to drive back and forth to Costco now.
Yeah. Well, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the selection of Eileen Gay for the 5 Mile Creek Pathway Trailhead project and send the proposal to City Council for final approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Madam Chair, was there a second? I heard definitely. Would that be a second?
Lizzie Taylor seconded.
Lizzie?
Thank you.
All right, that is now approved to go to City Council for their final approval. Item number 4 is a recommendation to City Council, the final design for the Meridian Pool as reviewed by the Design Review Panel and approved by the West Ada Recreation District. Cassie, do you want to give us a report on that? And
Yes, so thank you. Hopefully everyone got a chance to look in the packet and review the design. The panel for that was the pool manager, the West Ada Recreation District representative, and our chair, Bobby Gaitan, who's not here tonight. We went through several design phases, and this is the one that they came up with. So please let me know if you have any questions. They seemed the pool seemed happy that it spoke specifically to education and had images of children. Some of the other highlights was that we had some diversity of representation, and the young girl's face is looking directly at you. She looks very confident. Color scheme was strong. And so please let me know if you have any questions. Open to discussion.
so Cassie, I have a question. Is that a photographic representation? Is not an art, not a rendering of?
Good question. And that was a similar question that we had in some of the early stages. When they are installed, so yes, it does come from photographs. That's kind of how they work, and they specialize in photorealistic representations. But when they're installed, it's done with spray paint, and they look much more painterly when they're installed. But they do, and they come up against that a lot when they come to design panels, because it does look very much like photographic, or like you could just vinyl wrap or something. But when it's done, if you've seen any of their work around town, it becomes much more painterly.
Very good. So we need to, does this need to be approved and then go to City Council?
This is also review and discuss and looking for a recommendation. The next step would be, yes, to go to City Council. So any thoughts or comments and any thoughts about the mural are good when it moves on to the next step.
Anybody have any questions? concerns?
Madam Chair, I think it looks great. excellent work to the whole panel for putting this together.
Thank you. So can we go ahead and approve it then to go to city council? So if we can have a motion to approve that.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the final design for the Meridian pool and recommend it to city council for approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that will be presented then to, is approved to go to the city council. Item number 5, a draft of call for the Performing Arts Project. It's a review and discussion. Patrick, I believe you have put together some plans for a draft, and would you like to share your creation with us?
Yeah, it's in the PDF.
Just in case somebody didn't read it.
This is, Cassie gave me some examples, so pulled information from those examples. And then we met and talked about what terminology we could use. And I came up with support. I think, does that pass you think?
So just to give a little bit more background in case I don't know that everyone's totally aware of this. In the past, the Arts Commission has a budget for performing arts projects. And in the past, the Treasure Valley Children's Theater has come to the commission to request funds. And then we had more organizations coming to request funds and decided that was not the best way to handle these. So this needs to go out as a call for performing arts projects. So that's what this is. I haven't had a chance to, Patrick and I worked on it a little bit, but I haven't had a chance to totally review this, and neither has legal. So this is not in a stage that's ready to move forward at this point. But this is a chance for the commission to give any feedback. Also, I plan on working with legal. I had the same question about the wording of support, or what was I can't remember the other assistance, because really the city needs to, we need to receive something, basically what the Performing Arts Organization is doing something that the Arts Commission is unable to fulfill. We are not doing performing arts projects, so they are kind of fulfilling that as one of our missions to do these projects. So I'm still not quite sure about the assistance or support. Emily might be able to answer that. But do know that this is not in the final stage, and we need to, I'm hoping that with feedback from you and legal and my review, that we might have this in a final stage for the December meeting.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, to give a little bit of background on why we did things the way they were used to, and sort of respond to that, that concern about the assistance versus whatever. So in the past, what we were provided from the entity receiving the funding was a sponsorship opportunity. So Meridian Arts Commission logo was featured in publication, in their booklet or their program for the event. And so we were sort of paying for a sponsorship, and what we were getting was sort of publicity from that. So I noticed that the ineligible applicants states that this is not open to organizations applying on a fiscal sponsorship basis. But that's, if I understand that wording, that's sort of what we had done in the past. So I get that this is sort of changing because we're changing the way we do things, but that was the way that we had approached it in the past to allow us to provide money to those organizations and ensure that we were meeting the requirements for us to be giving that money away. So not giving it away, but providing the money.
Madam Chair, it's Emily. Hi, I agree with everything Jessica said. In addition, the Treasure Valley Children's Theater in the past, or our vendor for this project moving forward, fulfills a strategic plan initiative for performing arts. So as I'm being a little redundant here, but they're essentially our contractor who fulfills that where MAC doesn't do that directly. Instead, they hire someone to do that. So the deliverable is, in addition to the sponsorship, the delivery of a performing arts experience for youth, and the performance itself is the deliverable.
So should we change the word support in the document to sponsorship or?
Madam Chair, I'll need to give that a little thought. Cassandra and I started kind of thinking about it, but it's difficult to describe an intangible deliverable. I guess it's not intangible, but it's difficult to describe the deliverables in terms of what has been a sponsorship and what looks a lot like a grant program. The difference being that we're sort of purchasing a service. So we need to find a way to make sort of a hybrid of almost like a request for proposals. It is along the lines of a request for proposals, really. That's probably the best way to do it. So calling it support, we'll need to kind of figure out a way to say we're buying what you're selling, but maybe in a way that is more descriptive of what we're really doing. So I don't have a great answer for you. Support is okay, but we're not really just providing support to their organization. We are buying a product. So it sounds a little crass when we talk about it in those terms, but that's what municipal funds have to do. They have to buy a thing. So I'll have to give it some thought, and maybe you all can too. I don't know that support is the right word, even though we're getting warmer with that.
Yeah, the one thing most grant, because I've never written one of these before, I filled them out. And so that one of the requirements of generally in them, if somebody wins support through their application, one of the requirements is, and I think that's in here, I have to go back and look at it, but that they then, the Meridian Arts Commission logo and information would receive a prominent placing in all their advertising and marketing. So I don't know whether that would cover support or whether we change it or change it or the word to sponsorship.
Madam Chair, again, we're just gonna have to give it some thought. It is indeed the sponsorship that we're purchasing, but what it really comes down to is that strategic plan initiative. So that's what the commission is doing by expending these funds and lending essentially this support to these organizations. So in addition to the logo and the different publicity expectations, we also need to establish expectations for what they're doing at rehearsals, how they handle auditions, and then ultimately the performance, what that looks like and what we expect. So we're really close. We just need to sort of more describe kind of what we're asking folks to say in their proposals or in their responses to our whatever this is.
I totally understand. So yeah, just if you want to email me or Cassie what you think is the best way to approach that in verbiage, and we can get it into, I can get it into this document. And I noticed on the report sheet, it actually had grantee's name. I didn't get that off, so we'll have to change that to whatever it is, recipient's name or organization name. But yeah, that's all I have.
We'll give it a look.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, one of the questions that I had that I wanted to put forth to the commission is that the application is only available to nonprofits. I think that was in there. I don't know if that's a consideration or if it should be available to for-profit ventures or other organizations. Thoughts on that?
Madam Chair, I would tend to think not to be exclusionary, but to not have it available to for-profit organizations. I think kind of, in my humble opinion, kind of defeats the inclusivity of Meridian Arts Commission. And we want to make more stuff available to people who might not have it available to them if it weren't for us. Because we're a really cool organization.
Yeah, Cassie and I did talk about that. And it's, I thought in there was something, but of how do we separate, I mean, of a nonprofit company or a for-profit company? No, but to also be able to include individual artists who are contractors in a sense. And it may be a question for legal of how the best way to present that and word that in there so that we're supporting individuals and individual artists, but not a, I don't want to get specific because I don't, but not doing a for-profit company or organization.
Because individual artists could probably not be an individual artist would not be generally a not-for-profit, you know. And I don't know, as an example, is the Huckleberry Group, are they a 501c? They're a for-profit.
I think they're probably an LLC at this point.
Yeah, they
So
said
they're
they were,
providing a service to the community that isn't being delivered in another fashion, I think, which I think you addressed in the criteria, right, Patrick, if I read it?
yeah, I think and I was going to look because there's a list of, and I don't know which page, I think that was on the front of it was kind of a list of what we support. Yeah, so it was dance, music, opera, theater, and musical theater, magic, illusions, mimes, spoken word, puppetry, circus arts, and performance art. And I guess in putting those in there, thinking those are all going to be individual artists, but it's a good point, we may need to get more specific on and come up with verbiage on commercial versus not-for-profit or individual artist.
Any other discussion, concerns, questions? What is the time frame to have this completed by?
So timeframe wise, the funding needs to be spent within this fiscal year. The end of this fiscal year is September 30th. That means projects would probably need to be complete by September 1st in order to get me the paperwork and get the invoicing. That means that their projects are probably happening this summer. So they need to apply for the money probably January, February, have the selection February, March, so that they know that they have funds to do projects or not. So if it is not approved or ready to go forward at the December meeting, that's okay, but January is starting to push the timeline.
Patrick, is that realistic to get that? Who did you feel by December meeting actually? On?
Yeah, it's the 14th.
Yes, the next meeting is on December 14th. And I think the next step is legal and I need to review a lot of the things. We can pass it back to Patrick, and then try to have another draft at the December meeting that hopefully would be in a more final draft stage and ready for approval with maybe some few tweaks that that could be approved.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a problem, because I've got an event on the 4th of December I have to do, which is going to take up most of my time from now until then. But after that, yeah. And that would probably be enough time. After the 4th, you guys would probably have what you and legal would have what you want or need, you think?
I think so. I think it's doable. We'd also have to have it done in order to be able to notice it in the MAC meeting the week before, but yes. Timelines.
Madam Chair and Cassie, you guys probably will do this anyway, but I would recommend an editorial review just to kind of once over to make sure that we've dotted all our i's and crossed all our t's and all that good stuff.
And I think this might be a question for Emily. Commissioner Peters, I know you are particularly good at editing. Can this document go through an editing through email with multiple commissioners? Are we running up against open law things or?
Madam Chair, I think if the commission authorizes specific commissioners to take on that task, then that can work. We do need to be careful about deliberating, but just getting this ready for the next meeting should be okay. Let's not have a quorum doing that, but that would be hard anyway.
Okay, thanks, Emily.
So a motion for that might look like someone recommending to table the conversation with the commissioners, Peters and O'Leary, working on the document moving forward.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Motion carried.
Sorry for clarification, who seconded?
Lizzie.
Thank you.
Item number 6 under new business is a presentation by the Solid Waste Advisory Commission project. Steve Corey is here to present that. Welcome, Steve.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to present. I am Steve Corey, and I am the chairman of the Solid Waste Advisory Commission. I'm here representing the members of our commission to talk with you about an idea that we've started to consider. The Solid Waste Advisory Commission oversees the franchise. That is to say, we go ahead and oversee Republic in their collection of wastes and recycled materials, and also provide recommendations to council on the collection of waste and recycled materials, any policies that they might go ahead and work on. We've worked on a number of outreach activities, but they all seem to be front loaded in this spring. We do a trash or treasure activity where Meridian citizens have the opportunity to exchange amongst themselves things that they no longer want to use to give them a extended life. We also facilitate a recycle a bicycle project where bicycles are diverted out of the waste stream and given to citizens for transportation or exercise or various other activities. And then we also have a presence at the Public Works Expo in June. So all of those are in the spring, and we're starting to think of possibly trying to get something that's out of cycle with that to continue our mission of basically trying to divert materials from the landfill. And one of the thoughts that came up amongst us was some kind of an art competition. And that happened to be, that kind of came up concurrently with some input from Cassandra that was very useful. And certainly, we're not thinking of a public art installation. We're more in the lines of maybe something that would be a art competition or art booth at Art Week in September, or something that might be a juried activity up at the Gallery Point activity. One of the things we need to decide is, are we encouraging people to make something out of recycled materials, which we have a lot of people that do an extremely good job with that, in which case probably the Art Week activity makes more sense. Or are we looking for someone that might be giving us some messaging using art to go ahead and promote diverting material from the landfills, in which case a juried type activity up at the initial point might be a little bit better. Anyway, we're kind of thinking about fine tuning our thoughts in January. Obviously, I should loop back with the recycled materials that we collect. Of course, those go through Western Recycling, and there's a certain amount of revenue that comes back to the city with that recycled material. Not enough to really have an effect on anyone's bill, but we've been able to go ahead and create a community recycling project fund that has been used for community development activities over the years. Certainly our commission and your commission have worked in the past. We went ahead and received and funded a grant to go ahead and cover some of the costs with the artwork at the southern entrance to Meridian, and certainly enjoyed the experience working with you. But we have the opportunity through that to create, to go ahead and do some consideration to the artist if they're producing a message, so that the city can acquire the right to use that message going forward to go ahead and encourage our citizens to divert more waste. And so that's kind of where we're at this particular point. And I really felt like it was an appropriate point to just come up and say hi, and basically have the opportunity for you to tell me if we're totally off base on what we're thinking, or if there's anything in particular you'd like us to do to facilitate communication between our commissions.
This is all just too funny. Madam Chair, Cassandra and Steve, thank you, Steve, for your very, very compelling presentation. What just literally jumped into my brain is a found objects art competition. I was part of one in Los Angeles a number of years ago, and it was crazy good. It would be kind of like the West Ada School District thing. It would be different levels. It could be garden art. It could be art for a public place. It could be car art, like you assemble something that looks like an automobile, but it has to be all recycled or recyclable material. That's what I see. I mean, I'm all for messaging, but I think having tangible things with some sort of a juried competition would garner a lot of attention to recycling and get people. I just love found objects. We have this thing hanging outside our kitchen called the gizmo, and it's a real gizmo. All found objects. That's all.
Thank you, Lizzie. Cassandra, what is the gal's name? Sean that does
John Muscolo.
she did a show at the Initial Point I believe in 21. And it was all recyclable couture. It was absolutely amazing. And you know, perhaps Steve, she would be somebody to contact for some ideas. I mean, she literally made clothing garments out of bags, plastic bags, computer chips. It was amazing. Yeah, amazing stuff.
And there's another artist who is also shown at Initial Point. In the past, his name is Sean Hubbs. And oh boy, his stuff is crazy good. Crazy good.
Madam Chair, I think your idea of tying it into Art Week is a really good one. That's because we need a little more diversity in what's happening there and what's going on. So as part of the what is it, the events committee? There's another word there and I can now remember. Outreach and events committee. Yeah, I think we would all be in favor of that. And if we can come up with a plan and how to do it or where to do it. And Cassie's got a great imagination, so. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. The first thing that popped into my head was in Oregon, there's a organization called Wash to Shore. And it's an artist who community people go out and collect trash off the beaches. Mm-hmm. And then have made art, and that art has been exhibited all over the world. So, and then there's a great artist in South Dakota called John Lopez, who does amazing sculptures with, and he started with pieces of unused farm equipment from his ranch. And now his art is all over the world. So yeah, it's a great idea.
Madam Chair and Commissioners and Steve, thanks for sharing your ideas with us. I think this is great. And yeah, definitely something outside of what we usually do. I just was going to add to all these ideas that, you know, anything that ends up happening can serve double duty for outreach, publicity. You can use those photographs you know, for ads or, you know, whatever it is that you guys do already to share information with the public. So, you know, it's always nice when you can sort of take that and use it for future endeavors as well. So.
Any other comments? Steve, do you have anything to add?
Only thank you for this opportunity to go ahead and have the communication between our commissions. And I look forward to going ahead and putting something together with you.
Thank you so much for your time. Item number 7, we're moving on to reports. Staff report, Cassandra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several various updates. The ornament drop is coming up. That is scheduled for Saturday, December 10th, which will coincide with the Children's Winterland Festival. That's at the Boys and Girls Club on Saturday. That's an annual event that the Parks and Rec does, and it's from 10 to 3. And I think most of you are familiar with the art drop. So this is a twist on the art drop with the ornament drop. It's just one day, make handmade ornaments to drop in town, find for someone to find and keep as a gift. The pieces can be hung from trees, propped on windowsills, placed in creative locations. And we ask for people to only keep one per person. This hasn't been widely advertised yet, but I'm planning on putting this out soon. Would really like to encourage all of you to make an ornament, participate, encourage your friends, spread the word. Concerts on Broadway. If you are interested in helping with the planning of that, or if you have a band in mind, please let me know. I'm planning on scheduling a meeting with former Commissioner Leslie Malden. So anyone who would like to be part of that planning, let me know as soon as possible. Probably would like to meet sometime before the next MAC meeting. The audio companies that we used last year and seemed to work pretty well. They were less expensive. They have the dates penciled in. So the next step would be finding bands and booking bands. So again, if you know any bands, let me know. And also we probably, a meeting for finding and booking bands. And then we can start working on sponsorships, marketing strategies, finding some of the vendors. I know the ones that we had this last year are likely very interested in coming back. Loose Screw Beer also, I think, is interested in being a sponsor, which is great. And also, if you see the little star at the bottom, just in other city news, I wanted to give you all a heads up that there's other Parks and Rec staff that are in the process of getting approvals for a concert series called Kleiner Park Live. So at this time, this doesn't affect the concerts on Broadway whatsoever. The Kleiner Park Live series would be right now there's the movie nights every Friday night. So it would be alternating between movie night and then Kleiner Park Live and the movie night and Kleiner Park Live. So just a heads up, because you might see something about that at some point and then wonder about how that affects concerts on Broadway. And the answer is it doesn't. The traffic boxes have all been installed. You'll see on the slide the locations. The fire stations were kind of on some planning priority pieces. So there's new wraps at all the fire stations, except for Fire Station 6. Some of them were replacement wraps, and that was due to just age and deterioration of some of the wraps. The lifespan on these are sort of 5 to 10 years, and we're getting to the place where some are 6 and 7 years old. So we're probably going to start replacing some as they get some wear and tear and damage. And the one that's the picture, that was one of the West Ada School District students, and she had sent that picture. So I included that. I thought that was great. She was the photography award winner. Another project that's happening, the Parks Identity and Theming Public Art roster is open right now. And if you'll remember, this is sort of like on a 3-year basis, and it's the roster that we had 3 artists on previously. So Parks is putting that out again. I've worked with finance and some of the people a bit to adjust it a little bit, so we can have up to 10 artists this time instead of 3. And the artists that are on the roster can stay on the roster for 3 years, and they being on the roster is not a guarantee of any work. This just means that they're on the roster. There's someone that they can be contracted. And so the Arts Commission can use this roster for city purposes, or can continue to use a separate request for qualifications and request for proposals process. But if we had projects where it made sense to use people on the roster, it would shorten the timeline potentially. It closes pretty soon next week, but it's open. So if you have anyone who you think might qualify for that, you're welcome to send that link. I sent it directly to people who are on the roster previously, plus most of the higher scoring applicants for our recent projects. I don't know who's applied. We can't really see who's applied until after the deadline. Or maybe I can ask finance. So the scoring panel for that has 2 MAC commissioners, 2 Parks people, 1 community member who is actually the former Boise City Department of Arts and History, was the director of that department. So we will likely have news on that at the next MAC meeting, but might be January before that's complete. Sidewalk poetry project update. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead and giving some of the PAC news before Jessica gets a chance to. we, in the PAC meeting, they asked to schedule a meeting with the Public Art St. Paul during the meeting. They are available, although they sent a contract to me, and I had some questions about that because they asked that we acknowledge Public Art St. Paul and the first artist that was in the series in all print media and everything. So I'm not, so we're running that through legal first. And I also found out their agreements. So in addition to the $150 an hour that they do for consulting, the agreements that I would think would be really nice to model after, which is the their artist agreement and their agreement for stamping. Those are both $50. So those are costs associated too. So anyway, that's moving forward, but pending some negotiation with contracts. And if it can be sorted out, then this will be happening during the next PAC meeting, but it might not be sorted out in time. So I will let the Public Art Subcommittee know. Also working on the mural plaques. So I have some updates on that. This is also a Public Art Committee piece. The Public Art Committee recommended adding signage to all of the mural locations and signage that includes Braille. And Commissioner Gaitan, who's not here right now, researched signage and companies that include Braille. We reviewed some of those and would like to move forward with one of them, but waiting for an updated quote to include the Braille and installation charges. I was kind of hoping that it potentially could be installed before the mural unveiling, but that's obviously not happening right now since we have that event in half an hour. But they'll likely have signage in a few months at the current locations. Okay, here's something for a future topic, but also want to give you a heads up. If you remember in the news recently, there was an accident that happened at local high school, and there was a vehicle that hit a high school student. It was really tragic. The father has reached out. He was an art student, I guess, very active. And so he would like to look into the possibility about traffic box wraps. This would be outside of the normal process, but the process that I explained that should go through would be going to the Public Art Subcommittee first. So that will be on the next Public Art Subcommittee's agenda to look at that, and asked him to send me images so that the Public Art Subcommittee could review that. So no discussion needed on that, just a heads up that that's in the works.
Madam Chair and Cassie, I just wanted to note, I believe we do have a process for any individual who wants to sponsor a box outside of the normal process. Usually I think they have to pay for it. So I don't know if that's something we want to discuss. So I just wanted to bring that up, but recognize we can talk about it in our meeting.
I think that's exactly right. Cassie, can you, off the top of your head, know what the cost to wrap a box is?
Yeah, it's about 700. Also, there is currently a wrap at that location. It's the one with the cow on it. So it is one of the older ones. There's also a smaller box next to it that's unwrapped. So both potentially options. I guess I thought that they had to be on the roster. They don't have to be on the roster. Okay. I thought that they had to be selected for artwork before someone could sponsor, because otherwise people could just put whatever artwork they wanted on it. So
Actually, yeah, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
The only time that I know that we've done that where someone wanted to sponsor it was someone who was a family member of one of the pieces that was in our roster. So I guess that makes sense.
What was the
cost for the wrap is about $700, depending on if they need to take a previous wrap off or not.
So would that request be a donation that they're wanting us to make in honor of their student? Because I would assume they maybe don't want to pay that on top of funeral expenses and everything else. So is that what they're thinking or what we are thinking?
He also was very happy to contribute funds and thought that he could raise that. So he's not necessarily asking for the payment, although that is, we have traffic box series budget. So that's something that we would probably want a recommendation on and if they want to do fundraising or not.
I think there was public notice that there was a GoFundMe page for that individual.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Cassie. Item number 8, update on the Initial Point Gallery. The current exhibit, I'll just quickly say I hosted the opening and it was a well-attended opening. People came early. There was 36-ish people that attended. People stayed till the very end and it was a nice opening and great work. If you haven't gone up to see it, go see it. It's great. Natalie, do you want to finish up the report?
I don't have much to add, except I do think it's a great show. I would encourage everyone to go take a look. It was kind of fun on install day because all of the artists came and we're very happy to help install and have some input on their artwork. So it was nice to see everybody just kind of most of them, they dropped their work off and then we set it up. So it felt very like, oh, everyone's here. But yeah, it looks great. And thank you, Bonnie, for hosting. And we're looking forward to the Bosco show in December, which Lizzie will be hosting. And yeah, I'm happy we have the gallery up there. It's nice to, even when we're doing the install and, city employees walk by and check it out and they're always happy to see what's going on. So anyway, that's it for IPG.
Thank you, Natalie.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, one quick note about the next show for Bosco. This would potentially be the last first Friday opening, but it was moved because it overlaps the Christmas and Meridian and parade and everything, and Bosco wanted to change it. So that date is December 16th, which is a little outside the normal opening reception schedule. And after that, they will move to first Tuesdays in general, unless it happens to fall on 4th of July or there's a special request.
Thank you, Cassie. Item number 9, an update from the Public Arts Committee. Commissioner Peters.
Yeah, thank you. So Cassie did most of my job for me already. She covered a lot of the things that we discussed. So just a couple of things to point out. We have our mural dedication this evening for the key detail piece over at Unbound. So hope to see you all there. It'll be outside, so wear your warmest coat. That'll be happening pretty soon. I think we went over signage. So the other thing that I think we talked about that Cassie hasn't noted is our Discovery Park public art project. So that's something that we're continuing to discuss. It's going to be sort of a larger budget project because it's a larger park. So over the past few meetings, we've sort of gone over what locations we want to use and sort of, I think, landed on the decision to let the artist pick. So whoever is selected, they'll work with the city to identify what the best location would be. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wait until this public art roster closes and the artists have been selected. And we'll decide whether we want to use one of those artists or if we want to put out an RFQ for new artists to apply. So there's no hurry on this. I think they're still doing some work over at the park. I think we're aiming for some time next year to get the ball rolling. So we're being deliberate in our discussions and our decision making, and we'll keep the rest of the committee, the rest of the commission informed when we make decisions that we want your input on. So stay tuned. I think that's about everything that we covered. I don't think that I missed anything. I did also want to note, I think you all know this, we were originally planning this Saturday to have dedication for the Tully Park skate park. We decided to postpone that until the spring. It's just going to be nicer weather. It would be better. People will actually want to hang out outside and watch a skateboard competition rather than hang out in the cold in November. So stay tuned for that. But go check out the murals if you haven't already, and encourage other folks to as well. So love to see that stuff. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, so that wraps that up. The next meeting is scheduled for December 14th. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
A second,
A second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 4:35. Thank you all for coming.
You over at the mural unveiling.
Oh yeah, now it's on to the mural.